Hello everyone, this is our video presentation. Together with my co-presenter, Stephanie Angoli, Saipa Amilol, and Dishelle Aquino. Our topic for today is all about eutrophication. Eutrophication is the condition of a gradual increase in the concentration of phosphorus, nitrogen, and other plant nutrients in a water body, resulting in excessive plant and algae growth. Eutrophication is one of the most widespread challenges faced by freshwater system and also has long history in terms of water management. So it is a natural process that occurs in different water resources over centuries. But human activities have accelerated the process by increasing the rate and extent of eutrophication. So we have here the cause of eutrophications. Eutrophication is a natural process that occurs through centuries as a part of the cycle of the ecosystem. However, the process has been enhanced by human activities which cause the process to occur at a much faster rate with immediate consequence. So the primary cause of eutrophication is the entry of a large amount of easily available nutrients to the water resources, which increase the fertility and excessive growth of various plants and algae. Some of the factors that enhance the process of eutrophication by increasing the nutrients content of the water resources are fertilizers, concentrated animal feeding operations, sewage and industrial waste discharge, and the environmental factors. Number 1 is fertilizers. The use of fertilizers containing phosphates and nitrates in order to increase the productivity of crops in one of the primary causes of cultural eutrophications. The fertilizers used on the land near water resources eventually are ultimately deposited into the water resources during rain and other natural process. So the runoffs from the different areas eventually makes their way into the lakes, rivers, and oceans, which increase the nutrients availability of the water resources.
Number 2. Concentrated animal feeding operations. Concentrated animal feeding operations are agricultural practices where a large number of animals are confined to a certain area for a certain period of time in order to increase the productivity and quality of the animals. Operations like this produce millions of tons of manure each year, all of which eventually find their way into water resources. The manure primarily contains nitrogen and phosphorus, both of which are essential elements of algal blooms. Nitrogen and phosphorus occur as limiting factors in the algal blooms, as these are present in the least proportion in the molecular formula of algae. Thus, in many ecosystems, the biomass of phytoplankton is limited by the low availability of phosphorus and nitrogen. However, the release of animals' manure rich in nitrogen and phosphorus to such ecosystems causes the increased production of phytoplankton, inducing eutrophication. Number 3. Sewage and industrial waste discharge. In many developing countries, household sewage as well as industrial discharge are released into water resources like lakes, ponds, and rivers. The wastewater entering from different sources tend to have high amount of chemical nutrients which stimulate the dense growth of algal blooms in such resources. The wastewater from household and communities has high concentration of nitrogen and phosphorus, which have a direct effect on the health of the ecosystem. Industrial sewage, even when treated, contains in small concentrations of many chemicals, Over time, the continuous deposition of such chemicals leads to increased nutrient availability in water resource, eventually resulting in eutrophication. Number 4. Environmental factors. Different environmental factors like temperature, salinity, and atmospheric conditions play essential roles in eutrophication, but the exact mechanism of their influence is not yet completely understood. Algal blooms usually occur between the temperature of 23 degrees Celsius and 28 degrees Celsius and salinity level of 23% and 28%. The changes in these factors affect the rate of algal growth, especially when the temperature increases and the salinity decreases. The concentration of carbon dioxide also affects the growth of cyanobacteria, as these microbes can utilize low levels of carbon dioxide and becomes buoyant to keep themselves on the surface of the water and obtain sunlight. The free carbon dioxide concentrations in water also affects the pH of the water resource, further influencing the growth of different microbes. Similarly, the growth is also favored by increasing light intensity, with 4,000 lux being the most favorable intensity.
So we have eutrophication types. So the number 1 eutrophication types is the natural eutrophication, which natural eutrophication is a process that occurs as a result of a gradual buildup of nutrients and organic matter in water resources over a very long period of time. Natural eutrophication can take up to 100 years, as the natural deposition and increases in organic matter deposits require a long time. Cultural or anthropogenic eutrophication is the number 2 of eutrophication types, which cultural or anthropogenic eutrophication is the process of accumulation of excess nutrients in water ecosystems as a result of human activities. Cultural eutrophication is the process that speeds up natural eutrophications, resulting in severe condition within the short period of time. We also have the process steps of eutrophication. The first step in the process of eutrophication is the accumulation of nutrients in different ecosystems. These nutrients are usually rich in nitrogen and phosphorus, which are the 2 limiting elements in an algal bloom. We have also the increased productivity, the increased nutrients concentration in the aquatic ecosystems, causes an increased production of phytoplankton as well as plant species. An aquatic ecosystem consists of a diverse group of microorganisms that can utilize a variety of a complex as well as a simple nutrients. Number 3, we have the algal bloom formation. With the increased productivity of algae blooms begin to form on the surface of water resources. Algal bloom formation also results in the vicious algal bloom cycle, which releases more nutrients in the water. Algae in water receive enough sunlight, which enables them to produce oxygen as well as nutrients via photosynthesis. This causes an increase in algal population, resulting in algal blooms on the surface of the water. And lastly, we have the effects of problems of eutrophication. Number 1 is the increased biomass of phytoplanktons. Increased biomass of phytoplanktons, especially in the form of algal blooms, is one of the most prominent effects of eutrophication. The algal blooms might even develop toxic strains of cyanobacteria, which harm both aquatic organisms as well as humans. Number 2, we have oxygen depletion. The formation of algal blooms on water surfaces reduces the availability of sunlight to the living beings present in the water source. The lack of sunlight causes a decrease in photosynthesis and the eventual death of plant species present in the water.
So we have decrease in biodiversity. So the biodiversity of aquatic ecosystem decreases as a result of eutrophication. As the population of algae increases as a result of increased nutrients, the population of other living beings like plants and animals decreases. So we have number 4, toxicity. Various algal blooms are known as harmful algal blooms, which produce a toxic compound that can make its way up to the food chain to different trophic levels. Blooms in freshwater can be harmful to livestock when eaten by various animals. Toxic compounds then pass on from the animals to human, causing a threat to human lives. And lastly, we have water pollution. So the formation of algal blooms decreases the clarity of the water, resulting in extensive water pollution. So next, we have the solution of eutrophication. Because eutrophication affects a large portion of water bodies throughout the world, it is important that the process should be controlled, since anthropogenic activities are the primary causes of nutrients enrichment and eutrophication. It is important to address such issues. The following are some of the solution of control measures to minimize eutrophication. So we have number 1, biological control. Phosphorus is one of the important elements that induce the process of eutrophication. Thus, it is important to remove phosphorus from various sources. Number 1, yon yung biological control. So we have number 2. Number 2, reduction of excessive fertilization. Fertilizers are one of the important sources of nutrients causing eutrophication. Thus, reducing the use of fertilizers can be a good strategy to reduce nutrient inputs. Optimized use of fertilizer also requires regular soil testing to ensure that optimal fertilizer are used. And then we have public awareness and legislation. Public awareness determines the ability of the public to understand the surrounding world, sensitivity to changing environment, and understanding the cause-effect relationship between the environment and human behavior.